So, it's a new year, I'm back in Canada, and one of my favorite parts of visiting last year was watching a whole bunch of anime with you. Can we do it again?
Absolutely.
I'll go first. I want to watch Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop?
Anime Indecision. Yeah, Cowboy Bebop! It's a classic!
Well, it is a classic, I guess. I don't really know if I need to rewatch that one, though.
But it's fun! It's got this great lighthearted attitude, it's got cool action scenes, and it's easy to watch.
It's a good-looking show, and it is fun. Like, the characters are fun and stuff, but ultimately it just feels like every time it's going to go somewhere, it just doesn't. Every time there's a mystery, it gets like half-assed, slightly solved, and then there's just more mystery that you never come back to and don't care.
Okay, so it's not the most plot-focused show.
That's for sure.
I like to think of it as like a collection of short stories based around these people who live on the ship, and the ship is called Bebop, which is where the name comes from. And it's just a space cowboy show with interesting, fun characters, and we get to know a little about them. Maybe not as much as you want, but they're very interesting, they're very funny and dynamic, and a lot of times they make the situation worse before they make the situation better.
The situation always gets worse. It's usually their fault.
Yeah, usually.
They deal with a lot of crazy stuff. They have all kinds of hijinks. If the word hijinks appeals to you, you probably like the show. But they spend a lot of time kind of drifting. Like, they'll go on some weird vision quest, or they'll get high. They spend a lot of the time lying around, just drooped, because they're all, like, starving to death.
Well, that's not so uncommon in these Western cowboy things.
It's surprisingly ridiculously common. I don't understand why every show where there are a bunch of people who, they're usually bounty hunters, but just people who do jobs from planet to planet, who have their own ship, they never have any money.
Well, how is a badass bounty hunter supposed to make any money?
I don't know. Bounties? Somehow they always get gypped.
At least this is a show about bounty hunters where there's actually a strong focus on the bounties, and you constantly see them watching this TV show about all the bounties.
It is true. I'll give them credit for the fact that their show about bounty hunters does actually spend at least half their episodes, if not more, going after bounties.
That's not always true of these shows.
They try.
Like, I will admit that this isn't the most plot or character-driven show, but I feel like they've really set out to make an experience, to make something fun and enjoyable, to make something you can just sit down and watch. And sometimes it's nice to be able to watch one episode and not feel like you have to watch the entire story right now.
Yeah, it definitely works in that episodic way. It almost doesn't matter the order you watch them in. There are a couple episodes where characters are introduced or leave, but the vast majority of it, you could shuffle them all like a season of The Simpsons, and that wouldn't make a difference. I can see how you can sit down and have fun watching most of the episodes. They all have good parts, good like bits of action and comedy. The characters have a lot of fun interacting with each other, and they each have their own sort of tropes and cliches of that character, but it works really well. That's done well. I just feel like, I don't know, at the end of the day, almost every episode, it has all this promise, and there's good stuff in there, but it just kind of like ends in disappointment.
Yeah, but
it's always disappointment for the characters, but it's surprisingly often I feel like it's a little bit of disappointment for you.
But the characters, even though it's not a character-driven show, it's not all about the character arc, I still feel like the characters are one of the strengths of the show. That's one of the reasons this show has gotten so popular, is because these characters are interesting and funny without being like, it's not like a Ranma half character where they have one shtick. Yeah, that's that character's entire being.
Yeah, they seem like they have a bit of a shtick, but it's not like I'm the guy that runs around with a refrigerator as my weapon and whacks people.
No,
they're not as silly as that, and they do have more layers to their personality. And that's I guess what you say. They don't have character arcs, because instead it's more you find out about the character. It's not that they change and develop, because they really don't. But they start out where you know nothing about them, and over the course of the series you do learn more about them from their acquaintances, from the stories that get told, and from things that
it's like they're already well-rounded.
Yeah.
They're already finished their development as people, and you're just getting to know them. Like, it's a very relaxed show. It's a very easygoing show. And I think one of the reasons it's so popular with people is it very much appeals to, like, what Western animation was doing at the time. The fact that you could watch it out of order and it wasn't one big story.
Yeah.
The fact that the characters are a little more Western. Even there's a lot more Western designs, even. There's a
lot of culture out in their version of space, in their version of the solar system. It comes from different parts of Earth, like, all over the place, but a lot of it does feel like it comes from different cultures as interpreted by North America, or as evolved from North America.
This is an anime show where you're actually going to see black characters, and they're not like...
They don't just have that weird thing with the lips.
Yeah, they don't...
They're not just a guy who happens to have a dark skin tone and slightly odd facial features for the way anime characters are drawn.
And, I mean, our main character has, like, this curly fro, like Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction or something. Like, he just has this big poof ball of a hair.
It's like a hybrid. He has a hybrid between, like, silly Goku anime hair and, like, crazy, like, fro.
And that's very iconic. Let's talk a little bit more about the characters, because we didn't get into that.
Yeah.
So our main character is Spike Spiegel. He's pretty damn good with a gun. He's also pretty damn good with his feet.
I imagine Quentin Tarantino would love this guy, because he is right out of, like, 70s, like, kung fu movies.
He's got his blue suit with his yellow shirt.
It stands out
big
from the
poofy hair.
He's sort of dressed, like, nicely, except the colors are not colors that would be used by anyone ever.
He's always got a cigarette in his mouth, but it's never a nice looking cigarette. It looks like a cigarette out of a pack that someone drove over. Like, it's like bent and twisted.
Yeah, he stored it in his pocket or something. Although, if that's the case, it's a wonder that any of them come out even that intact, given that he does some pretty crazy, like, kung fu stuff.
Yeah. He's one of those characters, he's very much about, like, the footwork and the kicks, and I've always really liked that.
Yeah, because again, like, their animation is great. He's not always having, like, hand-to-hand fight scenes, and usually, as much as the show has lots of good action, it's spread out because they do way different things. They're often doing crazy chases and fighting over things in some weird way. They don't do straight-up combat a lot of the time. They're not just sit there and fight.
Yeah, it's not like the conclusion of every episode is just going to be a fight scene.
But every once in a while, he's just going to, like, have to wander through a place kicking everyone in the face. It will happen.
And he looks amazing doing it. And it sounds amazing when he does it, too. Okay, there's also Jet Black, his buddy. Yeah,
and he's sort of, you get this feeling, he's like a grizzled cop sort of character, but now he's in this bounty hunting life. And he's more of a straight man. Like, he's trying to keep them aboard. He knows how to keep the ship working, which is a good thing because the ship breaks a lot.
He's very much a technician. He's always the one with the big gun.
Yeah, but he's also, while not being, like, computer hacker type guy, he's thinking of doing things by the book, and he has that sort of police mentality. He wants to do more detective work, whereas Spike wants to jump out of an airplane into another airplane and
and kick someone in the face in the process.
And somehow find the guy and get whatever they're looking for.
Although it's kind of interesting talking about Jet being the straight man with that facial hair.
Yeah, that's... Part of it's like a tattoo sort of thing that's got going.
I don't know what it is.
He's got a hybrid tattoo mutton chops look that is fairly distinctive. Although it probably doesn't show up in his silhouette as well.
No, it is probably not as distinctive a silhouette.
So then they're going along and they pick up... I don't even remember the order.
I think
Ed next?
I think Le Chien comes next.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, that was pretty early.
Yeah, it was real early.
So they go and they end up picking up a dog, which stays with them for the series. And
by picking up a dog, I mean the dog basically says, "Hey, I'm coming along now. You don't have a choice. I just appeared on your ship, dude."
It's like everything else. They have an episode that's about the dog, sort of. It ends in utter failure, but somehow they end up with the dog.
Yeah. I think they had a bounty on the dog, and then the bounty gets canceled.
Yeah, I'm just trying to not go into too much detail.
Yeah.
No,
It's an early episode.
It is a super early episode. So they have this dog. Aiden doesn't talk or anything, okay?
It's not that kind of anime.
And it looks like a sausage dog.
It's like a little corgi.
It's not a tiny dog. Like, it's a pretty decent sized
It's a chunky corgi.
It's a pretty decent sized corgi, but his legs are like this long. And he's like, but the dog doesn't talk, but he's actually very intelligent, and every once in a while he's doing things in the series as they go on.
I like that the dog isn't excluded from the dancing. Everyone in the show dances, including the corgi with legs this big.
Yeah. So, and then they pick up Faye Valentine.
Yeah, I think Faye's
again. Again, they're so episodic. Does the order matter that much? I don't know.
Yeah, Faye's
But, so, then they end up, in a similar fashion, stuck with Faye Valentine.
Talk about one of the most infamous character designs in anime.
Yeah, she has some stuff going on, and she likes to flaunt it and fleece people out of money. So, based on that, the way she dresses makes a lot of sense.
It's true that, like, she may be showing a lot of skin, but there is an actual in-character reason. You know, she's not just like that.
I suspect she does like that, but she also... she knows that it works for her. Because if you're looking down there, then you're not looking at your wallet. And you probably never will see your wallet again.
Faye's one of the more mysterious characters in the show, really.
She drifts in and out a little bit.
She drifts in and out. She's not like a core party member in a D&D sense. And she seems to be in a lot of debt despite being really, really good at fleecing people and gambling.
You're like, how can she still have that much debt when she just like stole however many $1,000 from someone? Like, she's got that going. She is mysterious in that way. She also has this mysterious ability to still stick around with them a lot of the time, because they don't really want her.
Yeah, they're literally trying to get rid of her the whole time.
It just works out that way, though. So we got that, and then they pick up Ed.
Yeah. Speaking of computer hacker genius earlier.
There's the hacker.
There it is. Found it.
They get a little kid. He is clearly some kind of like autistic spectrum going on.
It is very special.
But she, Edward, is pretty awesome. She sticks around with him, and unlike Faye, they aren't actively trying to get rid of her, because she seems cool, and every once in a while, like, she's good to have around, because she may not seem to know what's going on, and you're never quite sure that she does, but every once in a while, she will just solve a problem for them, and they're like, okay, let's roll with that.
See, what I like about Edward is, I mean, we see this hacking stereotype character a lot. But she doesn't feel like that stereotype character.
She's not that stereotype.
Like, she doesn't wear glasses. She wears goggles sometimes. But she doesn't wear glasses.
That's not the same. No,
she's not like a cold and calculated individual.
Not
She doesn't
at all.
have logical, cold traits. And
she will, if she has an objective, she will come up with a semi-logical plan for doing it. And she's very good at achieving whatever her objective is. But what is her objective? She just does whatever seems right to her at the time.
If there's not an anime music video for Ed using Pharrell's song Happy, there really needs to be.
That would make a lot of sense. 'Cause
I'm happy. Like, that's...
Yep, no, I can see that.
Ed's cool. She's good.
Yep. So this is our motley crew, and they just kind of wander through the solar system, and you learn a little bit about what's happening, why don't people live on Earth for the most part, why is everything kind of a worn, future, beat-up sort of solar system in most places. We've colonized worlds all over the place. There's obviously been a lot of terraforming, but everyone has problems, and I don't know, bounty hunters are apparently definitely needed.
You know what? There's one aspect of this show we haven't talked about yet, and it's an aspect that I don't think we focused a lot on our previous discussions. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about the music.
Yeah.
Because this is not a show that can be separated from its soundtrack. It's not a show that can be separated from its music. I mean, there's a reason Bebop is right there in the title.
Yeah, like, part of the reason we don't focus on music a lot is because I have a very odd association with music compared to most people, and I don't worry about that and care about it too much. But it is clearly a part of this show, and I honestly, the kind of music that I like is music from shows that affect me a lot, usually. Yeah. If they have good music and I really like the show, that's when it's going to tie me in and I'm going to want to listen to it a lot. Cowboy Bebop doesn't have a whole lot of good plot going on, but they really do something with the music, and it does really feed into the episodes.
The music feels very integral. Like, I don't know how the manga worked without being able to hear songs.
I've never thought about that before, but it seems weird that you would open up and start reading the story of these characters without the opening scene.
I literally can't imagine it. And Tank is just, like, not only is this one of the most famous anime opening themes...
It stands out because it's way different.
But I actually agree, like, this isn't... I don't think it's overrated. Yeah, I think it is appropriately rated as one of the most famous anime opening themes.
Yeah, again, it stands out because it's way different, but it is also good.
Well, and here's the thing. You have a couple different types of anime opening themes. A lot of anime opening themes are so completely mad that you listen to them once and you skip them every other episode.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have a good song where you just enjoy listening to it, but it doesn't make a huge impact. Like, the Gundam Wing opening theme.
Yeah.
It's an enjoyable song.
You kind of get into it, but then you go try and like put it on your like iPod, and you're going to pull it off pretty soon because you're like, yeah, this isn't really doing anything for me.
And it doesn't feel super related to the show.
Oh, hell no.
Like, you can't imagine any of the characters listening to that song.
It's just some light J-poppy sort of thing, which is very common.
Then you start getting into the good opening themes. And a good opening theme for me is something like the first Attack on Titan opening theme.
Oh, yeah. The second Attack on Titan opening theme is actually quite good. If that was the first one, then we would be probably okay with it.
Probably. But
the first one was so just like pumps you up and gets you in the mood that when they change over, you're like, what?
That's the thing, is it's an opening theme that gets you completely ready for the show. The Attack on Titan opening theme, it gives you those feelings of morale and being boosted, while also giving you those feelings of being demoralized and desperation, and that represents the show.
It is kind of like bravery and desperation is kind of what it says.
Yeah, yeah. And then to me, Tank is actually even a step above that. It so perfectly fits that you literally can't imagine the show without it.
Yeah.
That opening theme, and not just the music, but the actual opening with the images and the dancing.
It's very well stylized. It's not your regular, like, oh, they fade in some images of their faces, and then
they're not just standing there in an empty field. Oh my god, you see that so much in opening themes.
So many fields. The grass is blowing and it's poetic or something.
They're dynamically lit and they're dancing, but you're not seeing the dance moves. You're seeing them like in the splits. And then the music is playing, and it's amping you up, and it's fun, and it's jazzy.
It looks 70s in many ways, but it's so just sophisticated in its presentation that it's kind of timeless.
It's kind of to the point where you could show that opening with the images and the music to someone and say, like, if this looks interesting, try the show.
Yeah.
And if this looks like something you have no interest in, probably don't go near the show.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. And it's representative of all the music in this show.
And the music is all very different. It's not like the show all sounds similar to Tank, but there's a connection there where it's telling you that this is the kind of diversity of sounds you're going to hear.
Well, and I think that's actually one of the reasons the show is so episodic. Mm-hmm. Because all the episode names have references to music.
Yeah. And
the different episodes will sound very different. You know, Heavy Metal Queen will sound different than Bohemian Rhapsody.
Definitely.
And those are two very different episodes. And all of the music is composed by pretty much the most famous anime music composer, Yoko Kanno.
Yeah.
So it's an integral part of the show. You really feel the music. And I don't know, like, I'm a very musical person. It's possible that if you're not a very musical person, that the show would actually have less effect for you.
Maybe that's why I don't like it as much as you, because I love the theme song and stuff, but I'm not, it just doesn't grab me. I guess because as fun as it is at places, because the plot doesn't grab me, because it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, and I found it kind of feels disappointing at the end. I never formed that sort of connection, so that the music in different episodes doesn't speak to me the same way.
See, because you kind of go from, I like this experience, so I like the music related to it.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the opposite way. And that's why I feel like we have to talk about the music in this show, because I think it informs all of the show. I think that's why it's episodic. I think that's why it's not one overarching story. Because when you're listening to a bunch of different music, you're not getting one overarching story. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you could compare it to Samurai Champloo, which was made by like the same people. And I find it hilarious because I find the theme song for Samurai Champloo horrible. It is atrocious.
I don't know that one offhand.
It's like some kind of form of rap mixed with like bioweapons.
Okay.
So it's kind of the opposite. Like it has this horrible theme song. The actual music in the show, I think, is great. It's similar. Like it fits what they're doing. And I don't know if it varies quite as much episode to episode because they actually have a little bit more of a plot. Like they're going in a. They still don't have much plot, but they're going in a direction all the time. In Cowboy Bebop, they can't choose a direction. They're just drifting wherever. But it's made by the same people, and you can sort of see how it does. Their music, the scoring really fits the show. But I find it funny that this one has such a perfect theme music, and the other one, you go listen to, like, search YouTube for the theme for Samurai Champloo, and maybe you'll like it. I found it was like must skip TV. Like you cannot sit through that rapping about samurai.
But I like rapping about ninja. Go ninja, go ninja, go! Go ninja, go ninja, go! Go!
You don't really like it.
I like it more than I should.
Okay.
How about we watch it again, and you try and look at the way that the music is informing the episodes a bit more. Like, we'll check the episode titles.
Yeah.
That might help.
I'll have to try that. And again, I haven't watched it for a while, and there is a lot of great stuff in the show. There's a lot of great stuff to see, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of the great, like, comedy moments they've had.
Alright, let's do it.